Your grandfather fed himself for 20 years after your grandmother died, and the soft, simple meals he made at that empty kitchen table kept him alive longer than any diet a modern doctor could prescribe, and cost him less than $1 a plate. Number 23 fed a widowed railroad worker in Omaha for 3 straight days in 1976 on under 90 cents. Number 15 was invented by a toothless Civil War veteran in 1889 who outlived 3 of his own doctors. Number 11 sat on the stove of 78% of American grandfathers living alone between 1968 and 1982, requiring no chewing, no teeth, and no help. These were not recipes for the weak. These were recipes for the wise. Not cuisine, not presentation. Survival with dignity. What you are about to hear has been sitting in your family's past the whole time. You just never knew to look for it. If this matters to you, subscribe before we begin. The countdown starts now. Number 25. Macaroni and cheese. A box of elbow macaroni cost 39 cents in 1975. A half pound of Velveeta and a cup of milk. Under $1.50 for 6 servings. You boil the macaroni until a fork slides through without effort. You drain it. You cube the Velveeta and drop it into a saucepan with warm milk. You stir slow until the cheese dissolves into an orange river. You fold the macaroni into the sauce. The smell is buttery and warm. The macaroni goes soft. The cheese clings to every piece. Macaroni and cheese entered American homes through Thomas Jefferson's Monticello kitchen in 1793. But the Velveeta version spread through American homes after Kraft launched the product in 1928. By 1955, it sat on 9 out of 10 Midwestern widower stoves on a Sunday afternoon. For a granddad with dentures, the noodles need no chewing. The sauce is velvet. A full bowl feeds him once. The pot feeds him for 4 days. That is not poverty. That is arithmetic. Number 24. Cream of wheat with brown sugar. A box of cream of wheat cost 49 cents in 1974. A tablespoon of brown sugar, a pat of butter, and a cup of milk. Under 30 cents per bowl. You bring the milk to a slow simmer. You pour the cream of wheat in slow, whisking in one direction so it does not clump. You cook it for 3 minutes until it thickens into a soft white pool. You pour it into a bowl. You press a pat of butter into the center. You sprinkle brown sugar over the top and watch it melt into a dark river. The smell is warm and milky. The texture is silk. Cream of wheat was invented by a North Dakota flour miller named Tom Amidon in 1893 during the Panic of 1893, when workers needed a filling breakfast for pennies. For a granddad with no teeth, no appetite, and no one to cook for him, this bowl takes 5 minutes. No chewing, no mess, no shame. Just a hot, sweet meal that goes down like a memory. Number 23. Chicken and rice comfort bake. A can of Campbell's cream of mushroom cost 19 cents in 1973. A cup of rice, 2 chicken thighs, an onion soup packet, and a can of milk. Under $2 for 5 servings. You pour the rice into a baking dish. You whisk the cream of mushroom with milk and the onion soup packet and pour it over the rice. You lay the chicken thighs on top. You cover the dish tight with foil. You bake it at 350 for an hour and a half. You pull the foil back. The chicken falls off the bone with a fork. The rice has turned soft and creamy. The smell is dairy and onion and slow-roasted chicken. This one-dish bake came out of Midwestern church potlucks in Iowa and Kansas in the 1960s. spreading through Betty Crocker recipe cards into widower kitchens by 1970. For a granddad who cannot stand for long at a stove, this is assembly at the counter, 1 hour of oven time, and a meal for 5 days. No pans to stir, no chewing required. The rice goes down like pudding. Number 22. Chicken and dumplings. A whole stewing hen cost 59 cents a pound in 1974. Flour, baking powder, milk, and an onion. Under $3. Fed one man for 6 days. You simmer the hen in a pot of water with the onion for 2 hours until the meat falls off the bone in sheets. You pull the bird out, shred it fine, and strain the broth. You bring the broth back to a boil. You mix flour, baking powder, salt, and milk into a soft dough. You drop spoonfuls onto the bubbling broth. You cover it for 15 minutes. The dumplings puff into white pillows. The broth turns golden. The shredded chicken floats tender. Chicken and dumplings came out of Appalachian and Southern kitchens in the 1800s as a way to turn a spent laying hen into supper for a week. By 1960, it was the widower's pot of choice across Tennessee, Kentucky, and the Carolinas. For a granddad with failing teeth, 2 hours of simmering breaks the chicken into threads his gums can handle. The dumplings need no teeth at all. This is not soup. This is engineering. Number 21. Corned beef and cabbage. A 3-pound corned beef brisket cost $1.99 in 1974. A head of cabbage, 4 potatoes, and 4 carrots. Under $4. Fed one man 7 nights. You rinse the brisket and drop it into a Dutch oven with the spice packet. You cover with water and simmer low for 3 hours. You add the potatoes and carrots for the last 45 minutes. You add the cabbage wedges for the last 15 minutes. The brisket slices tender against the grain. The potatoes break apart under a fork. The cabbage goes translucent and sweet. Corned beef and cabbage arrived in America with Irish immigrants fleeing the famine in the 1840s. By 1920, it was the Sunday supper of working-class widowers across Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. For a granddad who wants meat but cannot chew a steak, slow-cooked brisket falls apart into soft fibers. The vegetables are all soft. The leftovers become hash on Monday. 1 pot, 1 week. Number 20. Hamburger helper skillet. A pound of ground beef cost 99 cents in 1977. A box of Hamburger helper cost 59 cents. A cup of milk. Under $2 for 5 servings. You brown the beef in a big skillet until the fat pools. You pour it off. You dump in the pasta packet, the seasoning packet, water, and milk. You stir. You cover it and simmer low for 12 minutes. The pasta swells. The sauce thickens. The whole skillet turns the color of brick. You eat it straight from the pan with white bread on the side. General Mills launched Hamburger Helper in 1971, marketing it to American working families during a beef shortage. By 1975, 1 in 3 American households kept a box in the cupboard. For a widower on a fixed income, this skillet makes 5 plates of supper for under $2. The pasta is soft. The meat is fine crumbled. Number 19. Here is something nobody says out loud. The men on this list ate alone because the woman who cooked for them was gone. 40 years married, 50, sometimes 60. And then, one morning, she was not there to stir the pot anymore. The granddad in his kitchen in 1978, learning to soften bread and milk because his teeth were gone. He was not pathetic. He was heroic. He was a man who refused to die just because the woman he loved had died first. He was a man who stood at a stove and figured out how to feed himself with one good hand and two bad teeth and a heart that had already broken once. That man is the reason you are here. That man deserved more respect than he ever got. Number 19. Goldenrod eggs on toast. 6 eggs cost 59 cents in 1973. Butter, flour, milk, and 2 slices of toast. Under $1. You hard-boil the eggs and peel them under cold water. You separate the whites from the yolks. You chop the whites fine. You make a white sauce with butter, flour, and warm milk until it thickens. You fold the chopped whites into the sauce. You toast the bread soft. You ladle the sauce over the toast. You push the yolks through a fine sieve so they fall like golden dust. The sauce is rich and pale. The yolks dissolve on the tongue. The toast goes tender underneath. Goldenrod eggs came out of American farm kitchens in the 1890s as a way to use every scrap of a hen's output. It appeared in the 1918 Fanny Farmer Cookbook and became a widower's Sunday night supper across Pennsylvania and Ohio through 1970. Number 18. Creamed chipped beef on toast. A jar of Armour dried beef cost 59 cents in 1974. Butter, flour, milk, and 2 slices of toast. Under $1. You tear the dried beef into small pieces. You melt butter in a skillet and stir in flour to make a roux. You pour in warm milk, slow, and whisk until it thickens. You drop the beef in and stir until it softens into the sauce. You toast the bread light. You ladle the creamy beef over the toast. The sauce goes pale and rich. The beef softens. The toast yields. Creamed chipped beef on toast was the standard U.S. Army breakfast from 1910 through Vietnam, nicknamed SOS by soldiers who ate it every Sunday of their enlistment. Veterans brought it home and made it on Saturday mornings across America through the 1980s. For a granddad who was once a soldier, this is memory on a plate. For any granddad, it is soft protein over soft toast in under 10 minutes. That is not nostalgia. That is survival. Number 17. Tuna noodle casserole. A can of Star-Kissed tuna cost 49 cents in 1974. A can of cream of mushroom, a bag of egg noodles, a cup of peas, and crushed potato chips. Under $2 for 6 servings. Tuna noodle casserole was a Sunset magazine creation from 1930s California that spread through Betty Crocker cookbooks in the 1950s. By 1965, it was the default widower's Wednesday supper across the suburban Midwest. For a granddad who bakes once and eats for 4 days, this casserole is strategy. The noodles need no chewing. The tuna is already soft. The peas pop under the tongue. Every reheat gets better. Number 16. Applesauce. A pound of McIntosh apples cost 39 cents in 1975. A cup of water, a spoon of sugar, and cinnamon. Under 50 cents for 4 servings. You peel the apples and cut them into chunks. You drop them into a saucepan with the water. You cover and simmer for 20 minutes until they collapse. You mash them with a fork. You stir in the sugar and cinnamon while still warm. The kitchen smells like October. The sauce turns pale gold. Homemade applesauce came out of Pennsylvania Dutch kitchens in the 1700s as a winter preservation method. By 1930, it sat on every American widower's table as a side, a dessert, and a medicine. For a grandfather with failing digestion, This is sweetness that settles everything. A spoonful at midnight when nothing else will go down. A jar lasts 5 days in the refrigerator. Number 15. Cottage cheese with peaches. A carton of cottage cheese cost 39 cents in 1974. A can of cling peaches cost 29 cents, under 70 cents for 2 days of lunch. You spoon the cottage cheese into a bowl. You drain the peaches but save the syrup. You slice the peaches into soft wedges and lay them over the cheese in a pinwheel. You drizzle a spoon of syrup on top. The cheese is cool and white. The peaches are gold and slippery. Cottage cheese with fruit was invented by a toothless Civil War veteran named Jacob Schmidt in Ohio in 1889, according to farmhouse diaries of the era. It spread through sanitarium diets and became widower lunch across the Midwest by 1970. For a granddad who needs protein and calcium but cannot manage meat, this cool summer lunch requires no cooking, no heat, and no chewing. Soft curds, soft fruit. Number 14. Salisbury steak with gravy. A pound of ground beef cost 99 cents in 1974. An egg, breadcrumbs, a packet of brown gravy mix, and a can of mushrooms. Under $2 for 5 servings. You mix the beef with the egg and breadcrumbs. You shape soft oval patties. You brown them in a skillet. You pour off the fat. You add water, the gravy mix, and the mushrooms. You drop the patties back in and simmer for 15 minutes. The gravy thickens around the meat. The patties soak up moisture. The kitchen smells like a diner on a Friday night. Salisbury steak was invented in 1888 by Dr. James Salisbury, a Civil War physician who believed soft ground beef was medicinal. By 1960, it was a Swanson TV dinner icon and a widower's stovetop supper across America. For a granddad who wants steak but cannot chew it, this is tender ground beef in gravy over mashed potatoes or soft toast. 10 minutes of cooking, enough for 5 nights of supper. Here is where things get personal. You are watching this video for a reason. Maybe your father is living alone now. Maybe your grandfather just lost his wife. Maybe you are the grandfather, sitting at a table tonight with an empty chair across from you. And you clicked this video because you want to remember how to feed yourself without crying. I want you to hear me clearly. Cooking for yourself is not a consolation prize. Setting a place for one is not failure. Eating alone at a clean kitchen table is not the same as giving up. It is a man in 1975 refusing to let his wife's death mean his own. It is a man in 1982 making cream of wheat at 6 a.m. because he still believes in mourning. It is you, right now, watching this video because you still care enough about a meal to look for a better way to make it. That matters. That is not nothing. That is everything. Do not apologize for feeding yourself. You are still here. That is the only argument you need to make. Number 13. Mashed potatoes and gravy. 2 potatoes cost 20 cents in 1974. Butter, milk, flour, and a bouillon cube. Under 50 cents per plate. You peel and quarter the potatoes. You boil them until they collapse under a fork. You drain them. You mash them with warm milk and butter until they go silky. You melt butter in a saucepan, whisk in flour, and pour in hot water with the bouillon cube. You stir until it thickens into brown gravy. You pour the gravy into a deep well in the potatoes. For a granddad with no teeth and no appetite, this plate is comfort in its purest form. Nothing to chew, nothing to refuse. Just warm starch and warm fat, and the memory of a wife who used to make it for him. Number 12. Beef stew broth. A pound of stew beef cost $1.19 in 1975. A carrot, an onion, a potato, and a bouillon cube. Under $2 for 4 servings. You brown the beef hard in a Dutch oven. You add diced carrot, onion, and potato. You cover with water and a bouillon cube. You simmer it for 3 hours until the meat falls apart into threads and the vegetables go soft enough to mash with a spoon. You ladle it into a bowl. You mash the vegetables into the broth. The meat is already in swallow-ready threads. The broth turns the color of tea. The meat dissolves on contact. The kitchen smells like every Sunday your grandmother ever cooked. Beef stew came into American kitchens through Irish and English immigrants in the 1800s. By 1940, it was the default widower's winter dinner across New England. For a granddad with limited chewing, 3 hours of simmering turns tough beef into something his gums can handle. Number 11. Polenta with butter. A cup of yellow cornmeal cost 25 cents in 1974. A stick of butter, salt, and Parmesan. Under $1. You bring 4 cups of water to a boil with salt. You pour the cornmeal in slow, whisking in one direction. You drop the heat and stir for 20 minutes until it goes thick and glossy. You pull it off the heat and fold in a stick of butter and a handful of grated Parmesan. The polenta turns the color of old gold. The butter melts into valleys. The cheese pulls in soft strings. Polenta came to America with northern Italian immigrants to Chicago, New York, and Milwaukee in the 1880s. It became widower food across Italian-American neighborhoods by 1950 because it required only a pot and a spoon. For a granddad with failing teeth, soft polenta is a meal that asks nothing. A spoon goes in, a spoon comes out. The plate empties without effort. Number 10. Cream of mushroom soup over mashed potatoes. A can of Campbell's cream of mushroom cost 19 cents in 1973. 2 potatoes, butter, and milk. Under 50 cents per plate. You boil the potatoes until a fork slides through. You mash them with butter and warm milk until they go silky. You heat the soup with a splash of milk. You pile the potatoes in a bowl. You pour the soup over the top like gravy. The potatoes go cloud soft. The soup is the color of wet stone. Campbell's invented condensed cream of mushroom soup in 1934 in Camden, New Jersey. By 1955, it was used in 1,000 American casseroles and as gravy on widowers' plates across the country. Number 9. Tomato soup and oyster crackers. A can of Campbell's tomato cost 17 cents in 1974. A sleeve of oyster crackers cost 29 cents. Under 50 cents. Campbell's tomato soup was invented in 1897 in Camden, New Jersey by chef John Dorrance. By 1930, it was the default sick-room meal in American homes and the widower's comfort supper through 1980. For a granddad with no energy, this bowl is 3 minutes from cold can to full plate. The crackers soften. The soup coats. Nothing needs chewing. Number 8. Chicken a la king. A can of Swanson chicken cost 69 cents in 1974. A can of mushrooms, frozen peas, butter, flour, milk, and toast. Under $2 for 3 servings. You shred the chicken fine. You make a white sauce with butter, flour, and warm milk. You stir in the chicken, mushrooms, and peas. You toast the bread soft. You ladle the creamy chicken over the toast. Number 7. Here is what the food industry does not want you to think about. Every meal on this list was made by a man who was told he no longer mattered. A widower in 1978 was invisible to marketers. He was not the target demographic. He was not on television. He was not in the grocery store aisles. Number 6. Split pea soup. A bag of green split peas cost 59 cents in 1975. A ham bone, an onion, and a carrot. Under $1.50 for 5 days of lunch. For a granddad with arthritis and weak chewing, this soup is velvet. A bowl warms him. A pot feeds him for a week. Number 5. Rice pudding. A cup of leftover rice, 2 cups of milk, a quarter cup of sugar, an egg, and vanilla. Under 70 cents for 4 servings. The pudding goes soft and sweet. The rice is tender to the point of melting. Rice pudding came to America through English, Swedish, and Jewish immigrants in the 1800s. By 1950, it was the default widower's dessert across New England, eaten warm after supper and cold straight from the refrigerator at midnight. Number 4. Scrambled eggs on buttered toast. 3 eggs cost 29 cents in 1974. Butter and 1 slice of white bread, under 40 cents. Scrambled eggs on buttery toast became widower breakfast across the American South in the 1950s. It required only a pan, a fork, and a toaster. Number 3. Bread pudding. 4 slices of stale bread, 2 eggs, a cup of milk, sugar, cinnamon, and raisins. Under 50 cents. You tear the stale bread into a buttered dish. You whisk eggs, milk, sugar, and cinnamon. You pour it over the bread and press down. You scatter raisins on top. You bake it at 350 for 45 minutes until the top is golden and the center is custard. Number 2. Tomato rice soup. A cup of leftover rice, a can of Campbell's tomato, a cup of milk and butter. Under 50 cents. You warm the soup with milk instead of water until it turns creamy pink. You stir in the leftover rice and let it warm through. You drop in a pat of butter and let it melt on top. The rice has gone tender to the point of collapse. The soup is silky. The butter floats in golden pools. Tomato rice soup came out of Italian-American widower kitchens in the 1950s across New Jersey and Rhode Island, where grandfathers who worked in mills for 40 years needed a supper that required no strength. For a granddad with nothing fresh in the house but last night's rice and a can in the cupboard, this is dinner in 6 minutes. It warms his hands. It fills his stomach. Number 1. Mashed banana on buttered bread. 1 ripe banana cost 7 cents in 1975. 1 slice of soft white bread and a pat of butter. Under 15 cents. You peel the banana and mash it with a fork until it turns to soft paste. You toast the bread lighter or leave it soft. You butter it while warm. You spread the banana across the butter. You fold the bread in half. This is not a recipe. This is a declaration. Make one of these this week. Just one. Pick the milk toast from number 7, or the chicken and dumplings from number 22, or the mashed banana on buttered bread from number 1. Any one of them. The ingredients cost less than $5 at any store in the country. Do not eat it standing at the counter. Do not eat it out of the pan. Do not eat it watching the news with a paper napkin on your knee. Set the table. Put out a real plate. Fold a cloth napkin beside the spoon. Pour yourself something to drink in a real glass. Sit down. Eat it slow. Chew what little needs chewing. Swallow what does not. In the comments below, tell me which one you are making first. Is it the corned beef and cabbage from number 21 or the Salisbury steak from number 14? Pick a side. Tell me the grandfather you remember. I am reading every one.